Hello everybody and welcome to another unboxing video with me, your favourite herpetologist, Dr. Steve Allain. Again, we have another box from Toymany. Last time we looked at amphibians, this time we're looking at reptiles, although there are a few surprises in this box that we'll see very shortly. So let's get them out. There we go. And already the eagle-eyed among you may recognise that some of these animals in here aren't reptiles. So there are 12 animals in this box. We have 8 reptiles, 2 amphibians, and 2 arachnids. And so I would ideally have called this set the ectotherm box. However, I can see where Toymany are coming from that, because most people aren't going to know what ectotherms are, and there's no real way to collectively describe all of these animals in a more succinct way that everybody understands. So let's get some of these out of the way to begin with. Let's start with the reptiles. So first of all, the back here, we have a little leopard gecko. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with these guys. They're very popular in the pet trade, and this is a very good representation of one. The tail could have been a little bit chunkier, there could have been a little bit more black on there. However, this is a very convincing leopard gecko, and one that I'm happy to add to my collection. Look at her little face there as well, isn't it cute? Another popular pet is this guy. This is a bearded dragon, and hopefully many of you are familiar with this species. They are native to Australia. I should have said that the leopard geckos are native to India, Pakistan, but this little bearded dragon is in the process of eating. You can see there its tongue is sticking out as it would be on the ground, catching insects with that tongue. They get hungry as well, and so they need to eat. Coloration on this guy, pretty lifelike. The dimensions, the scale, all of the scales themselves, really fine detail here, which is quite impressive for a toy at this price set, which I am extremely happy about. Next we come on to probably one of my favourite chameleon species, Jackson's chameleon, and looks like a little triceratops because of these 3 horns that the males have. This is quite lifelike. Hopefully some of you will have seen photographs of Jackson's chameleons before, or seen them in pet shops, or if you're extremely lucky, even in the wild. Unfortunately, when I've been to Tanzania where these guys live, they have evaded me, but thankfully I have this lifelike plastic representation instead. And so I've said this on my blog, but I really like chameleon models. They're one of my favourite groups of reptiles, and so this is probably my favourite in this entire set. Next we have another Australian species, the frill-necked lizard, and for those of you that aren't aware, this frill here expands when the lizard is threatened. As you can see here, its mouth is open. That's the first sign of warning. The next thing it will do is expand out this frilled neck to make it look bigger and more threatening, and hopefully that scares away whatever is trying to chase it. You may also be familiar with this sort of headdress from Jurassic Park, and it was these lizards that inspired that. Thinking about the coloration, the scale, the sculpt, etc., this is again an exceptional standard at this scale, and it's just quite superb. Just taking a few seconds there to admire it. Next we have one of my favourite species of lizard, apart from the chameleons, which is the Komodo dragon. You can see here the tongue is sticking out, the camera will focus. There's beautiful scalation here, and the arms, the tail, the body is robust enough. So for those of you that aren't aware, Komodo dragons are from Indonesia. They're mainly found on the island of Komodo, which is how they get their name, but they're also found on some of the other islands in the archipelago as well. And so there is a little Komodo dragon face for you to look at, and they have this thick armoured skin that is quite splotchy like this at times. There's these huge claws on their feet and a venomous bite. So the world's largest lizard is also venomous. How cool is that? Next we move on to the only tortoise in this set, which is this Galapagos giant tortoise. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these, thanks to people like Charles Darwin and others. But again, these guys grow quite large in real life. They can weigh hundreds of kilograms. Thankfully, this one is nowhere near that size or that weight, but the detail on the scales, on the shell, the scales and the skin is just exceptional. And I'm really happy to see this available at this price point, at this level of detail and quality. This is what we should be striving for in all of these species, and so Toymany has done a fantastic job here. Next, we have a cobra. So this is a spectacled cobra, which can be indicated by the spectacle pattern on the back of its head. If I lay this down flat, you can see that it's lunging forward slightly. Thankfully, it is balanced, so it doesn't fall over. However, I feel that this could have been a far more interactive model if the neck here of the cobra was more upright, rather than in this this lunging position, because it just makes displaying it slightly harder, and you're unlikely to see this behavior in a cobra unless you really upset it and it's trying its best to put you off. So if you have seen this in real life, hopefully you manage to escape unharmed. But you don't want to stress out cobras too much, otherwise you could be impacting on their welfare, particularly if they're captive. So this could have been improved slightly, but again, the coloration, the scales, all that sort of stuff, is extremely good for this price point. And I especially like the detail of the scales on the head. I don't know if you can see those properly there. The final reptile is this guy. And I think my most favourite thing about this model is the fact that his jaws are articulated. So you can open and close his jaw if you have any fingernails. And so it's always great to see some crocodilian representation with this little caiman here, which is native to South America. So a great little model, and the biggest one in the set, but it does a great job of representing the species that it's supposed to. So again, hats off to Toymany there. So that's the 8 reptiles out of the way. Next we move on to the 2 amphibians. The first one is this guy, another frog. So this is the Solomon Island frog, which is generally this yellow colour. Has these horns on the end of its snout as well as over its eyes. And this helps to break up the body and help it to blend into the leaf litter where it lives. So an interesting species, one that not too many people are aware of, but great to see included in a set like this to try to raise awareness of this particular species. So I'm happy to see that there. Next is a species I suspect will not need an introduction. Hopefully, all of you recognize this derpy little face. This guy is the Mexican axolotl. They have skyrocketed in popularity recently, mainly due to games such as Minecraft, that are only found in one lake in Mexico. They are a Peter Pan of the amphibian world. They never grow up. They stay in this juvenile-like form as an adult, will reproduce like this. And this sort of albino coloration is popular within the pet trade. However, in the wild, they're more of a mottled dark brown colour, although some of them may be grey or black as well. So they come in a whole range of colours. As I've said, this guy is an albino that you would get in captivity, and you may have seen these guys in a local pet shop, or you may have one as a pet yourself. And I'm just wondering, if you were to leave this in the bottom of a fish tank, how many people would be tricked to thinking that you had an axolotl? I may try that one day and let you know how that goes. So the final 2 animals in this set are the arachnids. The first is this guy, which, as we can see from this red hourglass on the abdomen here, is a redback spider or a black widow. And these guys in life are far much smaller than this, and I suspect the limiting factor would have been these spindly legs. If you made these much smaller, then they would have been far more brittle and snapped off. At the minute, they're quite flexible, he says as he tests his luck, but the definition, the colours, everything about this spider is extremely well done, despite the manufacturing process. And one of the things we have to think about when we're looking at these models and these toys. And so, to me, the moulding on this model is extremely well done, given the limitations of the manufacturing process, and something that I commend Toymany for. Okay, onto the final model. We have this yellow scorpion, and again, despite the limitations of the sculpting process, the moulding process, the painting process, this is extremely well done. There's lots of little bumps and nodules all over the tail, the claws here, the body of this scorpion. And so I am extremely impressed with this, despite the fact that arachnids aren't exactly my cup of tea. But again, something that, if we were looking at this from an educational point of view, could be an interesting and powerful tool to a potential learner. And with that in mind, all of the creatures in this set are extremely well made. The colouring is spot on for these creatures in the wild, and I'm happy to have them join my collection. So thank you for Toymany to sending these to me to review. And if you would like to purchase your own, there are links in the description, and don't forget to use my discount code as well. You can find out more about that in the description as well. And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Okay, sorry there. We were discussing the spider, and unfortunately the video cut out. So let's just jump back in quickly. And so, to me, the moulding on this model is extremely well done, given the limitations of the manufacturing process, and something that I commend Toymany for. Okay, onto the final model. We have this yellow scorpion, and again, despite the limitations of the sculpting process, the moulding process, the painting process, this is extremely well done. There's lots of little bumps and nodules all over the tail, the claws here, the body of this scorpion. And so I am extremely impressed with this, despite the fact that arachnids aren't exactly my cup of tea. But again, something that, if we were looking at this from an educational point of view, could be an interesting and powerful tool to a potential learner. And with that in mind, all of the creatures in this set are extremely well made. The colouring is spot on for these creatures in the wild, and I'm happy to have them join my collection. So thank you for Toymany to sending these to me to review. And if you would like to purchase your own, there are links in the description, and don't forget to use my discount code as well. You can find out more about that in the description as well. And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.